I'm sorry, what's that? I forgot the name, so it says the program names is Drama A&B. No, like family problems or situations. I mean, it says program names, but I don't remember what those are. Oops, shit, falling out of my ear again. Yeah, the program name should be on this. Ow, fuck, that's loud. Is it going to be this loud? I don't. Oh, where do I do that? Oh wow. Hello and welcome to the 18th Annual Damn Short Film Festival. I'm Anita Lanier, co-founder. This year we are streaming our Q&A session with filmmakers. I'm happy to present the Q&A session for Drama A and B, Drama A Family Ties, and Drama B Life Challenges. And I don't see the filmmakers, but hopefully we can introduce yourselves and if we just go around, I see that there are 5 of you. If we could just go around and introduce yourself and your film. I'm gonna start the Q&A session by asking some questions of the filmmakers, and then we'll turn it over to our live audience. In fairness, I wanna ask the guests to keep their answers on the short side so that everyone has a chance to participate. So, starting with, we'll just go from clockwise. Brian, would you like to start? Introduce yourself and say something about your film.
Sure. I'm Brian Naughton. I'm the director of Making Beethoven Proud. This is my MFA thesis film, and I couldn't be happier than to be a part of the Damn Shorts Festival.
Thank you, Brian. Yeah. And Pat.
Hi, everybody. My name is Pat Battistini. I'm the writer, director, editor of the short film Dignity, and I'm also very happy to be alongside everybody here. Congratulations.
Albert.
Hi, I'm Albert James May. I directed and wrote Maggie on Stratford Avenue. Very glad to be here.
Welcome. Lisa.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lisa Romola, and I'm the writer, director, and co-producer of The Nickname.
Great. And Sarah.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sarah Oliva. I'm the producer, writer, and actress in Lioness. And like everyone else says, I'm thrilled to be here.
Wonderful. So starting out, we've got life challenges and family tales, and there's some really interesting, a lot of reality in these stories. And you know, we always choose films for the story. And what I always like to know is what started the inspiration for your stories. Was it something that is based in your personal experience? Was it a screenplay that you wrote alone or with someone? A news article? Just briefly, where did you get the story for your film? And we can just go around. Brian?
Yeah, sure. So for me, with this being my MFA thesis, I wanted to write mine originally, but was struggling with that. So just reached out to our screenwriting department at DePaul, and the head of the department just flooded me with scripts, and I came upon this one, and I just fell in love with it. The story of this young high school student that's really kind of an outsider and a loner who really only has his music to get him through his life. And when he loses his ability to participate in that, that's something that I could really, grasp. And I wanted to take that script and make it a reality. So that's where mine came from.
And Lisa.
Well, the nickname was based on a short story that I wrote a few years ago. And with the encouragement of a lot of friends, they said, you have to do this. It was based on a grain of truth of what happened to my grandmother one day in the 1970s. And I rolled with that and obviously put fiction to it to spice it up a bit. But it was based on a true story.
Family story. Interesting. Pat?
My film, I actually was in a workout class and I'd stretch every day next to a girl who is a hospice social worker. And she would tell me stories. We would just talk as we're stretching. And I did not realize of the death with dignity law that existed. A lot of people know it as the Kevorkian law, but there are 8 states in the country that actually have made this legal to die with dignity. And so I was just totally intrigued by this. And she kept on telling me stories. And then I just went ahead and kind of took all the stories she told me and Hollywoodized it and came up with this little short.
Albert?
I actually wrote another script with this same character, with Maggie, that was much more flamboyant and experimental and violent and was very out there. And when it came to this story, I fell in love with her character and kind of discovered through writing that other script how much she was like me and how she was inspired by other people in my family. And so I came up with a more grounded take and just made it as personal as I could with things I've gone through and those around me.
Good. And I'm sorry, I don't have your name now, so now I forgot it. Lioness.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think it disappeared. Sarah. Sorry about that. This was
Sarah. There we go.
Hi. This was the first short that I ever produced or wrote, and it was based on an experience I had while I was volunteering at a safe house at a women's shelter outside of where I live. So it was inspired by that. It was very personal, but it was just inspired by a moment that didn't last for longer than about 2 or 3 seconds. And it just came like those ideas do in a car ride or just like a burst of like 3 seconds, and the story was there.
Something that really impressed me with all of your films was also the stories, of course, but the casting. I mean, that you really, all of you did so well with just the casting and so much the right character in the right part. So how was casting for all of you? Was it a long process? Do you how did that click for each of you? If any of you have a story about that.
I do have a story.
Yes, Lisa.
My story is about, it was originally about a little boy longing for a nickname. And when we went into casting, we auditioned all these young boys and they were very good, but there wasn't that spark there. And we auditioned this one girl, Marley Dauphin, who was outstanding. So my co-producer Mary, my co-producer Mark both said, what if we made the story about a young girl longing for a nickname and she spends this time with her grandmother? And it was like you just said, Sarah, the light went off and I said, we have to do this. And the woman who played the grandmother, Maureen Aducci, was so wonderful. I had seen her in a play that my co-producer Mary Conroy had done 4 years ago at Boston University. And I remembered her. And when I called her up, I said, would you do it? She said, absolutely. So those 2 gems came together and the rest fell into place.
I had I'm wondering, Lisa, if you and I had some sort of connection, because I was determined to have a little boy. That's what I wanted. I was driving the casting director crazy. I said, I want a little boy. Nothing was really, they were great, but there wasn't that spark. And finally the director said, since day one, I want you to see this girl, the incredible Lily Jane, and Molly E. Smith was the director. And as soon as I saw her, that was it. it changes it. It really does.
Mhm.
But it's meant to be.
Absolutely.
Mine's
You
not
know.
as mine's not as amazing, but the funny thing with mine is that our lead actress Lori, she looked too young, and I almost didn't cast her. But then she had a gray wig, and she put a gray wig on, and I was just like, just changed my perspective of her totally. And I'm glad she did, because we gave her the part, and because we needed somebody a little bit older, but she looked a little too young with her hair the way it was. So the magic of makeup in Hollywood, right?
Isn't that interesting? A hairstyle being that aging on her, because yeah, I would not have thought that. That's interesting. Yeah, that I mean, with all of them, those performances really made the film. The little girl and the main actress in Dignity, and and um, and Brian, your actor, that young actor. I mean, very very poignant performance. Did he really play the piano?
Yes, he did. That was a big part of the casting process for me as well. As I wanted to make sure that this actor could actually play it, that we could show him in a wide, really playing, not just cutting to a close up of hands on the pianos, the piano keys. And on top of that, he does not have a line in the entire movie. So I had young actors submitting just monologues to me and a tape of them playing, and then I would call some in and give them something new to read. But that was definitely a process for me, and I think we hit it out of the park with Sebastian. That he's able to convey so much without having to speak a word, and yeah, he just looks the part, and he killed it.
Yeah, yeah. And Albert, any casting stories with Maggie or her family?
Yeah, so the father and son I had worked with previously on projects, and I love working with them, so I was glad to bring them on. Um, Maggie is an acting professor at the university I went to,
Oh,
and she's amazing. She's so amazing, and she brought a lot of personal things. Everyone, it's funny. You cast people, and then you start talking about the script in more detail with them, and it turns out everyone has really personal connections to the subject matter that just elevate the film to be better, more powerful than it could ever be otherwise. And then the woman who plays the mother with cancer, I had seen her in another film, and she was really quirky and funny, and it was really important to me to cast someone who was really lively, because I felt that that would be more tragic to see them dying, and also more beautiful to see the hope that can be there. And then Maggie's mother, we were really struggling to find someone to play her, and then I had the executive producer reach out to this old friend, and she came and was just the most kind and lovely woman. It was great to work with everyone on the cast.
yeah, yeah. It What about do any of you have like a favorite story about how your film pulled together, or something that I don't know is your film story that you share with other people or that you would like to share here? Some challenge that you overcame during filming or having to cut
I've
something out. Looks like Pat, do you have a
Yeah,
story, something
yeah,
to
I've
share?
got the typical nightmare. We actually we lost some footage. I don't know how that happens, but it was corrupted. And of course, it's a small production, so we don't have a DIT going through all the whole thing and whatever like that. And so we found out after the fact, but it was near the end of the day. So it actually worked out better because when you're doing films like this, you just rely on whenever people can get together, the scheduling and things. People are volunteering their time and whatever. And so we didn't get to shoot. It was the dinner scene and the really emotional part of the movie, and we didn't get to shoot it. We lost it, so we shot it like about a month later. And I think it was great because then I think the actors actually had a chance to stew on it, and it fermented a little bit and emotionally for them. So when we came back, it was a lot better. I felt a lot stronger.
Mhm.
So it
Yeah,
was, yeah,
maybe
silver lining.
Yeah, that is that is a powerful scene, and, yes, a lot of these films are very kinda like, three hanky films, you know? It's there's a lot of sadness, but you've also managed to keep mostly keeping things light, although Lisa's film was mostly light, although, with the, bullying is not light, but how did you keep it light with your subject matter? Were there changes that you made in your script to make things less heavy, or was it something actors brought? What are some of the iterations that your script went through, um, as you were, you know, working out your story to something to present in a short film?
I know I could say that when I wrote the story, it ended on more of a somber note. And in editing, Scott Schuker, our editor, took that and took what was a lighthearted kickball scene and gave it a hopeful ending because for the young girl, that's her future.
Mhm,
So that really set the tone of the way I wanted to see it, as
mhm.
opposed to the way I originally wrote it. And then when you look at it in post, Mary, our producer, said, how about a voiceover right here? So I think that's the beauty, and everyone can probably appreciate this of collaboration. We prepared quite a bit, and little did we know that we were going to be shooting in 100-degree temperature. So we had
Mm.
6 months of preparation, a 2-day shoot to keep the budget down, and to not let it look like it was 100 degrees. So I think we did a good job with that.
We had obviously been in the southeast in Florida, we have obviously hurricane weather to contend with. And there's only one line in our entire film, just one. And you would think I would give it to myself, being as I'm the actor in it. But there was a lot of push and pull about who would get that one line. And in the end, the director said, I think that, the Lily Jane, and she was right. I mean, she was fantastic. So that actually did change the entire thing about whether the mother says the final say or their daughter does. And I want to say something when Pat was saying about things that you had to contend with. I did not know at the time that if you watch our film, there's a lot of ambulance, there's a lot of there's just a lot of none of that's all live footage. I didn't know at the time that the where we were filming happened to be a hot spot for drug activity.
Oh,
So there were overdoses and deaths happening outside of our door. The cops were there. I cannot even tell you in a span of 24 hours how many times. So it became a film within a film because then the director and I and the other crew are trying to protect the little girl and the mother, keeping her safe and making her
it
not
became
aware
very real.
as
Mm.
we're in this room, just trying to be keeping ourselves, focused. And so it really became very meta. It really took on a whole nother energy.
Yeah. Oh, are you Pat, I can't hear you.
I thought I clicked right
Yeah.
there. There we go. Along the lines of the
Yeah.
energy of some of the actors, as I mentioned, Lori, we started filming right about the time when you needed an intimacy coordinator on the set. And for
Mm.
those of you
Oh,
who
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
for those
your
of you who haven't seen the movie,
first scene.
yeah, it starts out with a very passionate lovemaking scene in the beginning. But Lori, we had the intimacy coordinator, and she and I are crammed in my closet with the monitor, and Lori is just going to town. But she was just so funny. Her energy was throughout the whole thing. Where it took, because Tom, our lead actor, and I shot that sex scene the very last day. So 8 days. These people have been together in several months, so you would think they would be really close to, and we've been through a lot already. But Tom, the gentleman, my lead actor, just kind of got a little bit nervous, because he's in bed with this woman simulating this lovemaking scene. So Lori, she was great though. She just tore down the barriers and just got him going. And really, I owe her so much for the energy that was throughout the. See, I would be crying in scenes, and we'd say cut, and she'd just start giggling. I'm like, how the hell do you do that? Turn it off and on so much. But that was pretty much the funny part. Myself and the intimacy coordinator in the closet just kind of laughing at Lori. So.
Yeah. Anyone else? can't remember what the question was, but Brian, you look like
I was just gonna say on sort of a similar note of just like kind of as things are happening on set, so during what we called the freakout scene when our character is so fed up with the world around him, he starts having a fit and starts breaking things and storming around the house. And we were in this house that we had rented, and the owner was upstairs, and we forgot to alert him that this was going to be happening. And it's all in one take. We got one shot at it because he came down. He's like, "What's going on?" And yeah, so that was a one take shot. And he actually came, and we had a light off like up the stairs shooting down, and he came and stood in our light. It was like, okay, we got it. That was the one take for that one, and it stayed in the film, and I think it worked out pretty well. But yeah, that was kind of funny. He was just like, "What is happening here?" I was like, "Oh, we're just making a movie."
yeah.
And for us, this movie was actually envisioned without any score. But we did a test screening and felt that we needed the score to emphasize certain thematic points in the film, and that really changed a lot about the movie. Just adding those moments, and we have a fantastic composer, Harris Sloan, who just did an amazing job at creating a feeling, kind of a sacred feeling that maybe wouldn't have been strong enough had it not been there. So that was a big change that made a huge difference on the end product.
Yeah. And what is something that you learned from this film that you will remember for the next one? Like the big lesson of, well, now that I've done this, I'm thinking about that for my next project. I assume you all have another project going on right now, or finishing up. Any major lesson learned, thing that you would tell to your younger self from 2 years ago or however long ago it was?
I think something that I continually learn on each set I'm on is that I need to just trust, the heads of my departments, that as the director, I don't need to be getting so worked up about everything, because I tend to do that. I'm like running around, and it's like, hey, they know what they're doing to like focus on what I need to do, and just try and settle down a little bit.
I talked to a high school student this morning, and he asked me for some advice. And I said the two things from the nickname was I was appreciative of the preparation that we had for it, which was super helpful, but the idea of flexibility, because when you do have a team, you want to rely on them, like you're saying, Brian. And I thought that was super helpful. And some of the best ideas come from that type of collaboration. So I thought that was the best advice to give him. And I think that's what I would take going forward.
I'll say sound is so important. And I sat in a room with my sound designer, and we're students, so there was a lot of learning in the process, but we sat in there for months and we slaved away over that sound mix, and it made such a difference. And so that's something I've been really grateful to learn, that sound cannot be neglected, and it needs detail, and it can really do so much.
Right. And sound is huge. I mean, just in the position, I was the programmer for the drama with another programmer. Right. I mean, yeah, it's when the sound is off, it's really hard with, yeah, if it doesn't work or it sounds tinny or hollow or something. Yeah, I think you're right that that's something that stands out. Because you don't notice it when it's good. I mean, you only notice it when it's off. So yeah, very good. Anyone else with lessons learned to share with other younger filmmakers? Or
I think for me, it was everybody that you bring on, every single crew member. We only had 5 or 6 people. That was it. We really bare bonesed it. Trust them all. They know what they're doing. You hired them for a reason. I produced this and I acted in it and I wrote it. I did not direct it. And so I've never directed a short before. and I didn't direct this one,
Mhm.
obviously. And it was really fascinating to me as an actor to watch how directors work. If you're losing light, you're
Mhm.
losing light. When they mean you got to go, one take, they're not kidding around. You have to do it in that because you're losing. And one thing about sound, really quick, that Albert had said, to double check everything before, if you're renting equipment, before you turn everything over, make sure your sound, because we lost all of our sound. We had like a glitch.
Oh.
We were able to send it to one of those, I don't know, those places that can recover things, and they were able to recover it. And it wasn't the fault of anybody else. It was just one of those things that happened. And know that those things happen. Take a breath, keep calm, and you'll figure it out.
I already shared with you guys about our transfer problems too. So, I think of that all the time, but you just don't think it's going to happen, and it does. So, but like most of you guys said, you just kind of breathe and let it go, and okay, just have to fix it. So, but yeah, always there's always something I learned.
Yeah. Now back to story. Actually, each one of your films had sort of a bit of suspense where I couldn't tell what was going to go. I mean, even, some of the films were shorter, some were a little bit longer for 20 minutes or so, but there's always a sense of suspense. And how was that for you as filmmakers? In Was it your intention to keep the audience guessing, like, oh my God, what's going to happen next, and is this hopeless, or where's it going to go? Because one of the wonderful things about short films is that it's really unpredictable. I mean, I never know where these stories are going to go, and sometimes they go to someplace really kind of despairing and terrible, and sometimes they go to a place of hope, and sometimes it's just like, I got to know the rest of the story. So what was in your minds as you were working on this film about kind of leading the audience, and kind of being aware of how this was going to play to the audience, and our curiosity about your characters and your story? Um, is this something you consciously work on, or?
Well, really quick for mine, I love short films, and so I watch as many as I can. And I've always just noticed the ones that the audience, reacts to the most, or even myself, are the ones with all the red herrings, because they are short films. We don't have 90 minutes to create all this stuff. So that's the one thing I always make sure I have at least two different turns in my films where the audience isn't sure, it changes directions, and they don't know where exactly it's going. So it's just, and I look at it as a fun challenge and a creative
Yeah,
challenge for it.
yeah, because I wasn't expecting the end. I mean, I fall for every red herring, so I'm always surprised, like, oh no, that too. Oh, um, anyone else have how you, I don't know, manipulated your story for to no.
I think the thing that I was most concerned about is that you had a physical situation in the climactic part of my
Mm,
film,
mhm,
and how were you going to pull that off? And we had an amazing makeup artist who was able to step in and help with the reality of what that would look like, so people wouldn't be taken out of the moment. It would
mhm,
only enhance the moment. So once that was laid down and shot, I was a lot more comfortable because I could see what it looked like, and I was
mhm.
really comfortable with the job that Sharon, our makeup artist, had done, and that was worth its weight in gold.
Yeah. Yes, that's true, that an unrealistic wound can, yeah, it
Mhm.
breaks the spell, so,
Right,
yeah,
without a doubt.
good, good. Um,
I would say that for my piece, it's 9 minutes, and in order to kind of weave through it with the audience, I worked with my cinematographer, and we had 3 different styles that we would use depending on how our character was feeling at that time. Where we started off, we were on sticks and dollies, to then after he has this assault and attack, and then we were all handheld. We were moving around shaky, and once he sort of regains his strength, we had a steady cam operator come in, and we were flowing, moving in and around just to try and help convey, because we're with him every single frame of this movie. So we can help help the audience kind of feel what he's feeling inside, especially because, like I mentioned before, you know, he doesn't speak at all. So this way we could help the audience understand what he was going through without words.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say I love home invasion stories, and I love movies that take place in a domestic setting but are horrifying in one way or another, and where the realism and the horror clash. I think that's really interesting and really true. And so I did my best to take the influences and try to use them.
Right. Yeah, and it pulls people in a lot of different ways, you know, that you see this woman doing a really terrible thing, but you have compassion for her, and it's kind of, yeah, as an audience member, you get pulled in several directions. So, yeah.
I can't say that I intentionally or otherwise manipulated the story. It had a very clear beginning, middle, and end to me. And Molly, she also did the cinematography and edited it and directed it. She did a great job of understanding the aesthetic that I wanted. It wasn't until I had shown it and other mothers, for example, were like, oh my goodness, she's going to harm the child. Like they had this horror thing happening. Why isn't the child moving? And it never occurred to me that it would be, you know, gone that direction. But looking at it from that way, well, it's like, yeah, you want to keep somebody interested. I mean, this is a 7-minute short. Shorts are great because if they're wonderful, you want to watch it again. If they're terrible, well, it's over in 7 minutes, you know? So but I think that, yeah, I think that just the aesthetic that I wanted, she did such a great job bringing that to light, and the story just unraveled in the way that it was meant to.
Yeah. Anyone else? Do you have other projects that you'd like to share a little bit about? Planning your next project? Can you tell us about it?
Real quick, my other film, Miss Rossi, I think it's Saturday.
Oh,
Yeah. I actually shot a sequel to it. So I'm editing that actually tonight. That's what I was working on. So if you see the first one and you like it, maybe next year I'll be back with the sequel.
Did you
cat over here?
Did you intend to do that are you Italian? Did you speak did you film that in Italy? Sorry, not to change the subject to Miss Rossi, but
no, it's okay. I was just going over there on a whim, and I had 3 weeks, and I shot it in the village where my grandfather came from, and I was going back to visit my cousins, and I just saw, you know, I'm a filmmaker. I got 3 weeks. I got this location. Let me just do something. But the response has been great, and it was so overwhelming. I'm like, well, I'm going to do a sequel. If everybody likes this character so much, let me go ahead and do a sequel. So I went back in October during COVID, but it was all good. And I shot 2 sequels, so there's 2 of them there.
Oh, wow.
So,
The Adventures of Ms. Rossi or that the old guy that was trying to hit
it's all Miss Rossi. It's all Miss Rossi. So, yeah.
Where can we see it, Pat?
I can always send you a link, but I think the screening's Saturday. I have to double check the calendar, but yeah, I definitely, just go ahead and I'll send you a link. It's on Vimeo, but it's still at the festival thing, so that's why it's not out there yet. But
good luck.
Eventually, it might be a web series, but so yeah, happy to share.
Great.
And other future projects or finishing touches on projects?
I have another film that's on the festival circuit right now as well. I didn't direct this one. I was the cinematographer and the editor. It's called Woman Hamlet, and it was actually originally a stage play that a friend of mine was performing, that when COVID shut everything down, you know, she wanted to get her message out. It's about mental health awareness, and she uses the story of Hamlet and monologues to kind of get her message out about you know, being strong about mental health and the stigma around it. So I'm very proud of that, and it's gotten into a couple festivals, and so that's what I'm pushing right now.
Good luck with that.
Thank you.
And no. Okay, well, this is a good time to wrap it up. I want to thank the filmmakers for joining us and our audience for tuning in. All of our Q&A sessions are recorded, and you can watch them at your leisure on our YouTube channel. The next Q&A session is going to be the Nevada Films from 8 to 9 p.m. with Svetlana Stefanova hosting. And remember that you can vote for your favorite film until 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Sunday. And we will announce the winners at 7 p.m. that night as a separate live stream. So thank you so much for joining us. This has been a real pleasure. And I'm excited to see how people react to your films. We'll be able to see their reactions on Discord, and good luck with all your future projects. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you, Anita.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anita, so
Take
much.
care, everyone.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
We watch the sun go down over the same old